The humid August air clung to Willow Creek like a second skin, but inside the cozy Brood Awakening Cafe, the world felt cool and inviting. Emily Harper, a 24-year-old graphic designer with a penchant for sketching wildflowers, sat by the window, her iced latte sweating onto a napkin. Her auburn hair fell in soft waves over her shoulders, and her hazel eyes sparkled with quiet curiosity as she doodled in her sketchbook. Across the room, a man stepped through the door, his presence pulling every gaze like a magnet. Tall, with tousled dark hair and a jawline that could cut glass, he moved with an easy confidence. His navy blazer was tailored just right, and his smile, God, that smile, lit up the dim cafe like a summer sunrise. Emily's pencil froze mid-stroke. She wasn't one to gawk, but something about him felt inevitable. He ordered a black coffee, his voice smooth as bourbon, and when his eyes met hers, Emily's heart did a little flip. He crossed the room, coffee in hand, and slid into the chair across from her like he'd been invited. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, his grin teasing. "That sketch is incredible." Emily blushed, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. "Oh, it's just a doodle. And sure, why not?" "I'm Ethan Caldwell," he said, extending a hand. His touch was warm, firm, and sent a spark up her arm. "Emily Harper," she replied, her voice steadier than she felt. That was the moment it began, a whirlwind that would sweep Emily into a love she thought was her forever, only to unravel into a trap she never saw coming. Over the next few weeks, Ethan became a fixture in Emily's life. He was charming, attentive, and seemed to know exactly what to say to make her laugh until her sides ached. They spent evenings strolling through Willow Creek's lantern-lit park, sharing stories under the stars. He'd surprise her with her favorite lavender macarons from the bakery, claiming he just happened to pass by. He listened when she talked about her dreams of opening her own art studio, his eyes never leaving hers, like she was the only person in the world. Emily's family noticed the change in her. Her older sister, Clara, teased her relentlessly. "You're glowing, Em. This guy must be something special." Her father, Robert Harper, was less enthused. A retired lawyer who'd built Harper & Sons Realty into a local empire, he was protective, especially after a bitter business rivalry with a man named Victor Caldwell years ago. "Just be careful, Emily," he'd say, his brow furrowed. "You don't know everything about people." Emily brushed it off. Ethan was perfect. How could he be anything but genuine? He told her about his life, a tech entrepreneur who'd moved to Willow Creek for a fresh start after a rough patch in Chicago. His stories were vivid, tinged with just enough vulnerability to make her heart ache for him. When he kissed her for the first time under the willow tree by the creek, Emily felt like she was living in a fairy tale. 3 months in, Ethan suggested a weekend getaway to a cabin in the Blue Ridge Mountains. Emily was thrilled, her first trip with him, a chance to deepen their bond. The cabin was rustic but charming, with a stone fireplace and a porch overlooking misty peaks. They spent days hiking, cooking together, and tangled in each other's arms by the fire. Ethan seemed perfect, but there were moments, fleeting, almost imperceptible, that gave Emily pause. Like when she caught him staring at an old photo of her family on her phone, his jaw tight and his eyes distant. Or the time he got a call and stepped outside, his voice low and clipped, like he was hiding something. When she asked who it was, he smiled and said, "Just work," but the warmth in his eyes didn't quite reach his mouth. One night, as they sat on the porch, Emily asked, "Ethan, what's your family like? You never talk about them." His expression flickered, like a candle caught in a draft. "Not much to tell," he said, sipping his wine. "Dad passed when I was young. Mom's complicated. Let's just say I'm better off making my own way." Emily reached for his hand, her heart swelling with empathy. "I'm here, you know. You don't have to carry it all alone." He squeezed her hand, but his smile felt forced. "You're too good for me, Em." Back in Willow Creek, Emily's life felt like a dream, until it wasn't. One rainy afternoon, she was at the cafe, waiting for Ethan, when Clara burst in, her face pale. You need to see this," Clara said, shoving her phone into Emily's hands. It was an article from a Chicago business journal, dated 5 years ago. The headline read, "Caldwell Enterprises sues Harper & Sons for fraudulent deal." Emily's stomach dropped. The article detailed a bitter legal battle between her father's company and Victor Caldwell, Ethan's father. Victor had lost everything, his company, his reputation, and, according to the article, his life, dying of a heart attack shortly after the lawsuit. Emily's hands shook. This can't be right. Ethan would have told me. Clara's eyes were hard. Did he ever mention his dad's name? Or what happened to him? Emily's mind raced. Ethan had been vague about his family, but she'd chalked it up to grief. Now, the pieces started falling into place. His questions about her father's business, the way he'd linger over old photos, the calls he wouldn't explain. That night, she confronted him at his apartment. Ethan, who is Victor Caldwell to you? His face went still, like a lake before a storm. Why are you asking? I found an article. He was your father, wasn't he? And he had a feud with my dad. Ethan's jaw clenched. You don't understand, Emily. Your father destroyed him. Took everything we had. I was just a kid, watching my world fall apart. Emily's heart pounded. So what? You used me? This whole thing, us, was it just to get back at him? He stepped closer, his eyes blazing. At first, maybe. I wanted to hurt him like he hurt us. But then I met you and, God, Emily, I fell for you. I swear, what we have is real. Tears stung her eyes. How can I believe you? You lied about everything. I didn't lie about how I feel, he said, his voice breaking. I love you. But Emily was already backing away, her heart shattering. Stay away from me, she whispered and ran into the rain. The weeks that followed were a blur of pain and betrayal. Emily threw herself into her work, sketching until her fingers ached, trying to drown out the ache in her chest. Her family rallied around her, but her father's guilt was palpable. I never thought it would come to this, he admitted, revealing the full story of the lawsuit. It had been a messy deal, but he swore he hadn't meant to ruin Victor. Clara, ever the pragmatist, hired a private investigator to dig into Ethan's life. The findings were chilling. Ethan had been planning his revenge for years, even going so far as to infiltrate Harper and Son's investor meetings. But there was no evidence he'd done anything illegal, just manipulative. Emily faced a choice: expose Ethan and risk dragging her family's name through the mud, or let him go and move on. In the end, she chose herself. She blocked his number, deleted his photos, and poured her heart into a new art series, vibrant, raw paintings of broken hearts mending under stormy skies. One evening, as she set up her first gallery show, a letter arrived. It was from Ethan, apologizing, begging for forgiveness. He said he'd left Willow Creek, unable to face what he'd done. You were the best thing that ever happened to me, he wrote, and I ruined it. Emily read the letter, then set it aside. She didn't need his apologies. She was enough. A year later, Emily's gallery show was a hit, her art speaking to anyone who'd ever loved and lost. She stood in the crowded room, her heart lighter than it had been in months. Love had been a trap, but she'd broken free, stronger for it. As she locked up the gallery, a breeze carried the scent of wildflowers. Emily smiled, sketching a new future, one she'd build on her own terms.